Alright, today's project, I'm going to be installing an aux beam switch panel, some new pod lights, and some brackets for the ditch lights on the Ford Ranger. Let's get this opened up here. Here we got the lights. Pretty big. Might be too big. But we'll see how it looks. And then here are the brackets for the ditch light area on the hood. And then we got a switch panel here because I do have other light bars on the truck that I honestly have never used because the switches were never actually ran into the cab. Here's the truck. And there's this Kaizen. So the lights are going to be right here in these corners of the hood. And here are the lights that I already installed about a year ago, but haven't really used because I didn't feel like running all the wiring into the cab of the truck. So instead of using all this wiring here, we're going to try to mount the switch panel, fuse panel, solid state relay thing right here underneath this area between the battery and here. See if that works, and then run the rest of the wiring into the cab of the truck. There's the lights. Let's get that out of here. There's all the wiring for them. We're not going to be using the relays or the switch off of these because obviously we're going to be using that there. We'll start by mounting the lights on the hood. Here's the bracket. There's some hardware. And the other bracket here. The hood is so dirty that I think it's going to mark itself there. Should be okay. Right there. Go. It's going to be a 13 millimeter. Got the mailman going, Sky? On the outside here, there's a little bracket. There's that little section there. Cool, let's do the next one. This one's got a little bit of a little deal for the windshield wipers. Just make sure not to touch that. We got that bracket installed for the light. The other one, let's go ahead and mount up the lights here. Here's the hardware that's going to hold the light on, but it is too big for the hole here. So I'm just going to go through, open that up a little bit. Pretty close. Just need to clean it up a little bit on the bottom there. Go this way. Up that way. And then nut on top. Oh, like so. And not have to worry about this bottom bolt hitting there. Cool. Try to keep it lined up to the hood. There. It's pretty good. And we'll get that all fine-tuned once it gets dark here. But for now, we'll leave it there, snug them up. Sweet. There we go. Cool. Go ahead and close that. Good, how you doing? Let's go ahead and tighten this up. Doesn't look like anything's hitting. Cool. Now we can start directing the wiring down here to where we need it. Probably put that there. This side. I wonder if that's gonna hit the latch there. Try and run it on the side of that foam piece there, because that's lined up for this. So I'll put it to the side there. Do the same thing over here. Run it to the side of that foam. Start going that way with it. Cool. Let's get the wiring. I want to install the switch panel under here. So let's go ahead and take this little cowl off so we can see where we can mount it, how much room we have. And these are those two front lights. I have to get rid of the switches and wire these straight into the switch panel as well, and just let the switch panel control all these lights. So let's start by removing that cowl there. Now we got some room here. Let's see if we can mount our switch panel here. Here's the switch panel. This has all of your fuses and then all of your terminals for running various lights. We're going to run a positive and a negative, and then we're going to run our accessory wire and a 4-pin connector. That's what goes to the actual switches inside the cab of the truck. So we got to find out where we can mount this thing. So we got wires coming in here, wires coming out of here. Let's see what looks best. That looks pretty good there. We have it there. We'll be mainly using switches 1, 2, 3, 4 regardless. And I think if we mount it there, I wonder if I can, yeah, I should be able to loop the wiring through and then out that way regardless. So I basically need one for the front bar, one for the side bars, and then one for the ditch lights, and then another one for the rock lights. So it's a total of 4. So yeah, I think switches 1, 2, 3, 4 should work for us. We'll mount it this way. And then if we ever need 5, 6, 7, 8, I can still kind of loop them through the circuit board there. I am just going to be using some Tech screws with a little washer on them. Should hold. Worst case scenario, if these do not hold or they strip out, my hole's drilled and I'll put a regular 1/4-inch bolt in there and do it that way. Let's get that out of the way. Alright. Good and good. Yeah. Cool. Now, before we tighten that down, let's mount the box to here. That's on there. Let's move that out of the way and try. Let's get this lined up here. Look like it. Just move it down a little. A little better. There we go. Will it fall off? Maybe. I hope not, but we shall see. Let's go ahead and disconnect our negative. Got a 10 mil here. probably like a 13. And let's get that out the way. All right. Don't need that. We need to run a main positive, but we need to have it on this breaker. Got our negative. Here. And 2 positives. One long, one short. The short one we can run to the box. The long one, I guess, to battery. This is our negative. We can run, let's say, under here to here.
There's that cable. It's going to be going to our battery negative. There. Should probably have this off right now. Alright, so there's our negative. That's done.
We use a bolt and a nut in this situation. So we got a 1/4 inch bolt and a nut here. We'll just put that there. Give her the old reach around here.
Let's try using this instead.
Loosen this up. Get our shorter positive wire here. We're going to attempt to go up and over to right there. Cool. Now this one can come over here and to our positive. Not her. Where's the screwdriver? There it is. Now we're going to run the longer positive from the back end here over to our main positive here. I guess I could go to here. looks pretty good. Go here, go around, bring it around, and go into there. I'm gonna have to trim the plastic here. There we go. Ooh, we're almost out of battery. What we got? Positive to here, then positives running down, looping into here, and negative running down, coming up to here. Alright, so now I can start running these wires into our aux pin here using switches 1, 2, 3, 4. And last step is going to be accessory wire and then that 4-pin connector going into the truck. Okay, quick progress update. I got the panel wired up here, positive, negative. I got the front light bar, the hood lights right here, and then the two other lights here, the ones that go on the bumper, these little light bars. And then on the 4th switch I'm gonna have just the DRLs for the hood lights here. It's gonna be on that 4th switch there. And then for accessory power, I found a wire here, or a fuse actually, in the panel. If you open that up, I tapped into this fuse here, which is fuse number, looks like 24 on this here. So fuse 24, according to Google, was a spare, and the spare was a 10 amp and it was a switched power, so that's going to work perfect. So I just have that running that way over into our panel there. And now that I have all the lights hooked into here, I can now get rid of all that wiring. I'm not going to need any of those switches, any of those relays. It's all going to be in the panel here. So the next step is going to be to run just this single harness loom here into the cab. So for that, I went ahead, took off this dash piece here. Nice guy. He refuses to go inside. He wants to chill out here, so that's his choice. I'm not forcing him. I used a little tool I bought on Amazon, that little blue bar you see there. I just went through the grommet where all this harness loom is going through on the top side. Now I'm gonna run a wire through there, and that's going to feed down in here. I don't know if you can see here. Kind of hard to see. Basically, that tube that you see there sticking out inside on the firewall side there, I'm gonna feed a wire through there and then hook up this to it just to get it pulled through inside the cab. Start pushing it in. Now I got the fish line through right here. We're going to attach it here. Just kind of tie it up some way just to get it to pull that way, and then we'll pop it through the grommet. So we're gonna go here. And this end is not going to fit through the tube. So all I want to do is just kind of get it close in the tube and then pull it all at once so it pops through there. Hopefully we can make it work. Go ahead and lubricate it. Alright, cool. Alright, we got it through. There's the setup. We got the wire going through. There's the connector. Now, let's just pull all the wiring. Here's the part number for that tool to run the wires through. It is a OEM 7618. There's the little attachments that come with it. For this section here, I'm actually gonna remove a few clips and run zip ties to hold the wires, as well as that cowl you see there. think it looks pretty good. Switch panel. There's the main breaker, main power, main ground, switched power there, and the harness running into the inside of the truck, and then the harness for the two rock lights or ditch lights. Now I'm going to put the cover back here. Not in the way of anything. Cool. Let's finish up the inside by drilling that bad boy. Alright, so I mounted the panel there. I ran the wiring up through there under the steering wheel and just kind of tied it all up. Now we're going to test it and see how everything works. Let's go ahead and turn the truck on. We got power. So this one should be the front. Cool. That's gonna be the... Damn, those are freaking bright. These are gonna be the side markers. And this last one's gonna be the DRLs on the lights. So I'm just gonna turn them all on. As you can see, the 4 lights come on once everything is on. I haven't put the decals on yet. I just wanted to see what it looked like. Alright. Oh. Everything's working. It is bright. Nice. I'm just going to turn the DRLs to see what those look like. Those look pretty cool.